It's another Raw video from your favorite YouTube scout, Draft Raw Authentic, and today we're going to talk about the top running back prospects in the 2019 NFL Draft. So let's just get straight into it. First, we're going to start with the two Alabama running backs, Josh Jacobs and Damien Harris. Josh Jacobs, he's a really good back. He's a home run hitter. Despite his 40 time, he can still make a lot of big runs. 40 times for running backs they don't really matter. And that proved it with guys like Kareem Hunt and Le'Veon Bell. It doesn't really matter. But Josh Jacobs is a guy that he can make cuts. He catch the ball out the backfield a little bit. I mean, he's got an all-around skill set, and he's got some good breakaway game speed. But I don't know, overall, I don't know if there's anything else that's special about him. I think he's just a really, really solid running back that could be a starter for any team, but would he ever be like a top running back in the league? Would he be a consistent guy that's going to always make those big plays? Alabama running backs tend to, a lot of times they need big holes to make big runs because they, with their speed and everything, but overall, when it comes down to it, it's one of those things that you just got to be cautious about some of these Alabama running backs and what they can give you. The only Alabama running back that I saw was just a little bit different than most others was Damien Harris. And the reason is because he was a perennial third down type of back. A guy that can block, a guy that can catch, a guy that you can rely upon. He can carry the load. He could be the number 2 guy. He was one of those guys that it didn't matter what type of role. He was going to carve a role out in the NFL. He's one of those guys that's going to be underrated in this draft class. And he could very well end up being one of the better running backs in this draft class, point blank period, because of his natural skill set. And then how many touches that he had over the last 2 or 3 years that he's, really gotten some actual playing time, it's not a lot. Having to share the load with certain players, I just think that when it comes to a guy like Damien Harris, he could, like I say, he could very well just be one of the better running backs in this draft class, and that we don't have to worry about when it comes to him and is he going to actually make plays in the league. His ability to catch the ball, like I said, to block and do all of those things is a very all-around back, and I really like what I saw from him on tape. Then when we look at a guy like a David Montgomery from Iowa State, I really love David. David was one of my favorites to watch. Just to put some notes on what I said about him, he's a very shifty for his size. I think he's around like 220 pounds, and he's very shifty. He makes good cuts, but he's a cut blocker, something that is not the best thing to see, because you don't want the guys to go low because they can just a defender can jump over him, get the sack or something, or cause disruption. But I mean, it is what it is. He's very, very hard to tackle. Actually, there's a stat out there that I think PFF or somebody had it, that he was the hardest tackling running back. Like, he broke more tackles than any other running back in college this year, and also just making guys miss, just getting those extra yardage. He's a very hard tackler, never goes down with the first tackle. Patient runner with speed. He's a fighter, and he has great balance. I saw a lot of times where a guy will go over and tackle him, and they would just bounce off of him, and he would just go on and still, still run and be able to make the play. He's a fighter. He loves to fight for that extra yardage, so that's huge that I love about him. And like I said, he's a patient run. He's almost like Le'Veon Bell. He's a little bit patient, but he hits a burst. And that's what I really, really like about him. And he could very well be the best running back in this draft class. Or it could be a guy like a Devin Singletary from FAU. He keeps his feet moving. He's elusive, he's fast, he's got underrated power, and can cut in small places. Devin Singletary could be the best running back in his class. Yeah, he's a little bit smaller, but there's some stuff that you can really, really love about a guy like him. With him being so small, with that power that he has, very fast, very elusive, can cut in those small spaces, being able to cut in and out of traffic, and maybe just all of a sudden hit a big burst for a big gain. He's a very special player to watch. And then next on the list, we're going to talk about Darrell Henderson. Played at Memphis. Darrell, power back, used power and speed. There's nothing real crazy about him as a runner. I just like kind of the way that he does run sometimes. He can cut a little bit here or there. Wasn't anything greatly special I saw from him. I just saw a lot of power and speed, and that usually works in the NFL. And then we have Benny Snell Jr. from Kentucky. Falls forward every single time. Good cuts in the hold. in the hole, good cuts in the hole. He always breaks the first tackle, just like a David Montgomery. He has good, but he doesn't have great speed. You know, he's the prototypical power back, just like a David Montgomery is prototypical because I power back. But he's really prototypical because he doesn't have that great speed, but he has really good speed to when he does break tackles, and he has pretty good vision. He ends up, you know, having some big runs here, and just what he does, I mean, his cuts in the hole are absolutely great, and it's almost Devin Singletary-like. It's not as quick or it's not as smooth as Devin Singletary, but it's good enough because of his natural power, and it's hard to get him down. So then next on the list, we're going to talk about Miles Sanders from Penn State. A little bit what I wrote about Miles Sanders. Good power, good speed. Just like a power speed guy, like what you will see with Darrell Henderson. But the things that I did notice is that he has nice vision, solid hands, and can go out for passes. That's an extra thing that, you know, without the tread that he has on him for playing in that Penn State system, you know, his ability to go out and to go out for passes, and he has pretty solid hands for a running back, and he has really nice vision. He's a guy that can be very, very underrated, can be a really good running back in the NFL. Whether he's a #1 or #2, he's going to give a team something. I don't think he's going to bust at all. Then looking a little bit further down the line, we have some guys that's going to be late round guys. And honestly, I don't want to talk about these guys, but I kind of do want to talk about some of these guys because they can bring something. But we're going to go with, you know what, we're going to go with Ryquell Armstead. I think that he can very well get himself into like a third round position. Ryquell Armstead, all-around back. I saw a guy with speed, power, catching ability. It's one of those natural things when it comes to Ryquell. It's almost as natural as like a Rodney Anderson from Oklahoma who's coming out this year as well. Both of those guys are pretty good all-around backs that can give you things for a team, whether going out for passes or, you know, just a regular runner. They're both explosive. I think Ryquell has more explosiveness than what you think for being such a big back, and he's a strong back, and he's a fighter as well. He doesn't like to go down on the first tackle. He doesn't like to go down at all, and he always wants to get that extra yardage. That's what I really like about Ryquell Armstead from Temple. And then I guess if I would just talk about one more person that will probably be a top running back prospect or a guy that people know about a lot more, we're gonna go with Bryce Love. Bryce Love is a guy, you know, speed back. He made big plays last year, and this year it wasn't as great. But I think that he's a guy that can still to make some things for himself within the NFL as a speed back. He reminds me a lot of Chris Johnson, CJ2K. He reminds me a lot of him with his natural cutting ability, agility. Like, he's really a speed scat back, where Chris Johnson was never really a power guy. Even though I saw Bryce Love try to fight for extra yards a lot of times, never really a prototypical power guy, but a guy that can make that's really, really quick, but then hit that burst and he's gone. So that's what I really like about him. And you know what? What the heck with it? Let's just keep on going. Guys, let's go with some guys that I don't like. I didn't like Justice Hill. I thought that he needed big holes. He was a straight line runner, a little bit kind of like Bryce Love, but Bryce Love showed me some fight with him. He has inconsistent vision. He's just inconsistent. Period. He's a good open field speed guy. Justice Hill from Oklahoma State, but that was really it. Mike Weber, I wasn't a big fan of him. Nothing really memorable that I saw from a guy like a Mike Weber from Ohio State, but you know, it is what it is. I could be wrong about Mike Weber. And then Alex Barnes, it was nothing. I didn't see a lot of cuts that he made, anything that was really special. I just saw, you know, some power and some okay speed, but nothing really crazy about him as a running back. But I did see him make some big plays when he was at Kansas State. So, you know, I can see him being a pretty solid back, but I don't know if it's going to be anything crazy. Then we're going to go with Rodney Anderson. Like I said, it was just like Ryquell Armstead. Rodney Anderson from Oklahoma is probably the best running back in this draft class that if it wasn't for the injuries. He's just a pure best guy that you're going to see. You know, whether it's catching the ball, you know, the cuts that he can make and the explosiveness that he has for such a big back. He's probably the most explosive back in this draft class at his size. You don't see that type of explosiveness except for when you look at guys like a Saquon Barkley or something. So That's what I like about Rodney Armstead. But the injuries are going to hurt him a lot when it comes to that. Travion Williams from Texas A&M. Little smaller guy, and actually I'm gonna actually combine him and Myles Gaskin together, because they're smaller running backs, but they carry a lot of speed and a lot of power for being such small guys. So you're gonna get some some good shiftiness, a lot of good speed from guys like them, and they can be something within the NFL. I don't know if they're gonna be starting running backs, but they'll give you something. Home run hit type of guys can make big plays. They're gonna give you something when they get into the league. Then we're going to look at a guy like a L.J. Scott. L.J. Scott from Michigan State. Love L.J. Scott. L.J. Scott was a guy that could have came out last year. I been a big fan of L.J. Scott since he got to Michigan State. Just regular, just straight up. He's a power back. But I love L.J. Scott because it's this amazing cut ability that he has. That is, as out of all the big power backs, he's the best cutter. I've seen him make some cuts, and his agility be so just amazing. It's just like, wow, this guy can really play. And if it wasn't for his terrible offensive line this year, I think he would have had a lot more bigger plays, and he would be up there in terms of being a guy that could be a second or third round pick within the draft. But because of what happened this year and with their offensive line in Michigan State, it didn't happen for him. So it is what it is. Then we're going to go with Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson from Maryland. Another, speed guy, home run hitter, kick return ability, just a gadget guy. He can give you something within the NFL. But he's got a natural ability to hitting the home run. Elijah Holyfield, he had a bad combine speed and everything, but when it comes down to it, this guy can play. He makes cuts like L.J. Scott as well. He has okay speed, but the thing about him that I noticed about him is that a lot of times, a lot of his big runs, he bounces it straight to the outside. So it reminds me a little bit of was it Alex Collins that played for the Baltimore Ravens and the Seattle Seahawks, where he just naturally just bounces to the outside and doesn't really set up anything on the inside to go through the hole. Sometimes he does, and a lot of times he don't. But he's still a guy that I can like a lot because he does have that power. He's not going to go down very easily, and he's got okay speed, and he can do some things. And as a guy that always wants to look for the big play, it can hurt him, but it also can help the team, whoever drafts him or whatever team he's on. Then you have a guy like Jordan Scarlett. He's a shifty, explosive running back. Another thing, Ty Johnson, Bryce Love, just another shifty guy, but he's really, really explosive. And you know what? And I think that's it. From all the running backs that I sat here and I named, and then I studied a lot of these guys. My favorite guys to watch was David Montgomery and Beanie Snell Jr. They were my favorites to watch. I did like watching Damian Harris a little bit. Devin Singletary was another favorite of mine. A lot of those guys, it was a lot of good tape with a lot of those guys. And then some underrated guys that are going to go later, but I still had Rodney Anderson and L.J. Scott. They were really, really good tapes to watch, even though it's almost kind of limited because of injuries that they've both had. And then some two underrated guys that they may not go within the first 3 rounds, or they could go within the first 3 rounds, but they're guys that are kind of really building themselves up to be more well-known and higher picks. Is Rock Armstead from Temple and Miles Sanders from Penn State. I think both of those guys have really helped themselves with the draft process and building themselves up to being drafted higher in their draft than what you think they probably would be. So anyway, I thank anybody for watching. I appreciate anybody that watches. Please subscribe. Please share my video. Please comment, ask questions. If you have questions about any of the running backs that I named or running back that I didn't name, just ask a question about him. I'm definitely going to be doing another video of some later round prospect running backs that could actually give you a little bit more than what the scouts are telling you when I do get the chance to go look at those guys. But please do your due diligence. Ask me the questions. I love to talk to people in the comments. Anyway, once again, this is Draft Raw Authentic. I thank you guys for watching. Goodbye.